What is up, everybody? It's Wednesday. Gotta love it, man. Week 14. Oh, so ready for this. I know I got my man Evan with me today. Love hanging out with SoCal. Man, it's about getting into the time where people are starting to make their playoff push. I mean, even like people are getting into the playoffs still trying to push in to get in. I mean, I got a couple that I've solidified. I think I'm in 4 that I'm like in. I think there's one that I'm waiting to try to get into, and then I got a lot of ones that I'm like, there's like one that I'm like hopes and dreams. Like a lot of things need to happen. I got to get a win. A couple other things got to happen. You know, those ones where you're like, oh, please, 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 man. If I can make it into 6, I'll be pretty happy.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, most of my dynasty leagues that I wasn't really in it a few weeks ago, I pretty much jumped ship on most of my older players and start the rebuild mode there. But a couple other leagues that I'm in, I do have my one home league that is an auction league, 12 team, 2 keepers. I've been locked in one of the top 2 spots for like the last 2 weeks, and there's a bye week 15. So it feels weird because I really don't care from last week all the way till week 16. Like it's only week 14. I don't really have to care until week 16, but I set up my defense for week 16 and 17 in that league because it's still your traditional, kicker and defense, which it's cool. It's nice. I'd be fine with getting rid of it, but I've been playing in that league for a long time, so it's pretty much the norm. But it's nice to have that locked up. So kind of some pride in that one, play fantasy baseball with all those guys. Want to have those bragging rights.
Where are you ranked in the league that I run? I think you're in 4th, right? No,
I don't think I'm not. I traded away. I mean, I traded away Devontae. I traded away Kamara.
Yeah, your son is. I beat him last week, though.
And I still have kept finding a way to win in that league, even after I made the trades. But my team I could have kept it and made the playoffs, but my roster was not good enough, to make a run. So I just was like, I'm going to make that decision to rebuild a little bit. Plus, I just took that team over, so I figure,
rebuilds are awesome.
Yeah, and it's just fun to do it that way, Plus, it's hard to trade sometimes, right? Like it's so easy to hold on to players and be like and justify why, but sometimes it's nice to just let it go, get somebody new. Like nothing always works out the way we think. Like look at what we're talking about today, right? Like we've got Gardner Minshew and Jake Browning and Joe Flacco playing in week 14. We've got, Kyron, who I know was a sleeper. Like I loved Kyron going in, but let's keep it real. Like we didn't have Kyron as, a top running back headed into this season. We didn't have, so it's nice to do that because you don't know what's going to happen, So
yeah,
I'm just bummed it's week 14 already because the season's almost over, man. It just comes.
Not in dynasty. It's never over in dynasty.
No, it's never over. But live, live football. But yeah,
no, I feel you there. But it's nice. Sometimes it's nice to rebuild. Sometimes it's nice to start over. Like I said, your kid, Junior, man, he took a team and rebuilt it, and now is a competitor this year. So he made some really good moves. Like sometimes it's nice just sell some things, make some trades. Like he was very in the offseason when I was like, hey, come take this team over. He was very proactive, like boom, 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 making trades. I was like, damn, this kid's he's making some pretty good moves, and it's definitely showed.
Yeah, he's found a way to, he had like no draft picks headed into the season with the trades he made and had a good team. He's found a way to, I think, have like a first round and like 3 second rounders with that same team. So he's found a way to still have some draft picks to go with that squad. So I got to give him a little bit of props too, man. He's doing that. He's doing well in one of the other leagues he's in with, TD that, one of the ones he runs. He's going to be fighting Cub. He's got a squad, but SoCal Juniors team is pretty good, man. They face each other this week. Could be a championship preview,
No, I feel you, man. It's fun to see you get to see your kid doing it, kind of growing, watching you do it, and now seeing him like do his own thing. So I like seeing that. It's fun to see youth get into this. It's kind of what we did when we were younger. But all right, let's kind of get into it. I appreciate you being here, Evan, as always. As everyone knows, Evan's a co-founder of the Sports Affiliation, does a lot of content here. And, you can kind of shout out everywhere else you do content if you want to.
Yeah, shoot, I would do every Wednesday night if I could. You already know that, man. Get me on midweek talking fantasy football. You don't even have to ask, man. Just tell me I'm coming on. You know that. But I'm happy to be here, brother. I love this show, man. I think this has been just an amazing topic. It's a cool thing to do, but Yeah, man, Sports of Philly, all day long with JC and Iggy and Coach and all the other guys we got, Hall of Famer Greg Kellogg. We just got a lot of good things going on there. But covering the Chargers for High Point Sports, working with the guys at Fantasy Football Advice Network, popping on there. We're getting a fantasy basketball advice going. Coach and I just dropped a new show. We're going to get into fantasy baseball in the off season as well. So just constantly, doing what we can all across the board. But yeah, you can follow me on the X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. I still like calling it Twitter, but I'm always posting, articles on our website. You just turn those noties on, follow me, hit me up. I'll talk sports all day long, man.
The Twix, baby. Twitter and the X, the Twix.
The Twix. All right, I can roll with the Twix. The X just sounds weird, man. I could do the Twix, though.
Dang, I have been neglecting the comments. I'm sorry. There's a ton of them. All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all hopping in here. I'm not used to that many people hopping in right away. So I appreciate everyone getting here. I will get to everyone's comments. But, yeah, I mean, let me kind of talk a little bit about what the show's about. So FORCE and FARCE is kind of this thing I kind of came up with, and it's like top 14 players, right? So 14 was we started at 16 because 16 was kind of what Iggy's league runs. It's a kind of tougher league. It's 16-team league, but most people play 12, right? So we found a happy medium, 14 top 14 players, right? So a FORCE player is somebody that is outside of that top 14 realm, right? Who is ranked outside the top 14, who we think basically could have a great week. Maybe the matchup is good or something on the offense happen where maybe potentially they're going to have, a lot more targets, a lot more opportunities, or somebody on the defense maybe cutting it down, or, something that benefits them to potentially have a boom week, right, and finish in the top 14. And then, outside the top, so then our FARCE player is basically anybody that is, inside the top 14 that, could potentially have a bad week. And these are a little bit harder to, hit, man. If you hit on these, you're like, that's awesome. Cause it's like right now you look through them, especially when there's bye weeks, like last week, 6 bye weeks, it gets really, really tough, and I hit on Mahomes. That was pretty crazy. I said Mahomes was going to be my FARCE QB, basically saying that he doesn't do well. And man, he's the guy who hasn't been doing well in primetime games. I think he's 1 for 4 this year, which is not good. And he ended up finishing as the QB 16 this past week. So it's fun. It's fun when you hit. It kind of sucks, when you don't hit. But it's just a different kind of subject. So we can kind of roll through this here. I appreciate everyone coming in here. What's up? Fun Football Podcast. Appreciate you showing up, man. I love y'all coming and hanging out. We're gonna have to get you on the show. What's up, Albert? Ronald in the house. What's up? I didn't mean to neglect all of y'all. I totally didn't even see all these popping up. I was like, all right, let's get talking football. I think a lot of this was maybe up before even the show started.
Yeah, they were just having conversations on the side without us, bro. So it's all good, man.
So if you want to, so let's kind of get into it. I'll let you kind of get into the first player. We'll start with FORCE players, right? We'll start with QBs.
We're going to go with FORCE first?
Yeah, FORCE players. We'll do FORCE players first.
All right. So, I mean, I definitely, I like Justin Fields, of course, but I'm going to go another round. I like to kind of go a little deeper on the list. I think we all know how good Fields is already. I'm going to go with the guy that finished in the top 12 this week already, Joe Flacco. I looked at Gardner Minshew and Jake Browning, who I think could both be in that as well. All 3 of them finished in the top 12. Cincy and Indy play each other. A couple of things I looked at, Colts Bengals also can't stop the run. I can see, Moss and Mixon having big games on the ground, but I think both those guys are going to have good days. But Flacco, 254 and 2 and a pick against the Rams, who are an average pass defense. They're not a terrible defense. The interception he threw, I was at that game, man. Flacco looked really good. He had the guy beat. He just threw the ball short. I think his old arm, he thought he had a little left in the tank. And now he gets the Jags, who are the 30th ranked pass defense. We just saw what the mentioned Jake Browning did to this Jags defense. I don't see why Flacco can't do the same thing, right? It's in Cleveland. Jacksonville's got to come there. Flacco looks like he can do that once again. So I don't see why he doesn't throw for 250 and another 2 touchdowns at least. The other part of this is Jacksonville's still pretty stout against the run. So I think Cleveland's going to have to throw the ball a little more than maybe Indy or Cincy will have to. Like I said, they can run the ball. Cincinnati gives up a ton of yards on the ground.
Yep.
Indy's nothing special. So I like Flacco this week for a consecutive 2 weeks in a row top 12 finish, man.
Man, and he's just a veteran QB, man. He came out and just showed out, right? He came out and he did his thing. He did well. I mean, so it's nice to see that. Really is nice to see that too. And the Jags, they just lost Trev. So
and Kirk, man, no Kirk out for the season now, having surgery, but
he's gonna be on the field a lot.
Yeah, hey, Flacco, man, he looked really good in person, man, on sundown. I mean, just controlled the offense, play action, found the open players. I mean, he was fun to watch, man.
Coaching, you're saying Jake Browning.
I like Brown. I mean, Indy Cincy to me can easily be a shootout. I mean,
oh yeah, I think so too, man. I think it could be a big shootout. I think there's some good players in that game this week. Pittman's could be a. I mean, you know my force tight end this week. It's gonna be fun to talk about him, but
I like it, man.
It's just a little thing out there. So let's see here real quick. Fantasy Football Addict says start this week: Winston, Flacco, Levis, or Beathard. I think I'm going Flacco here.
Yeah, I mean, Ronald says there. I mean, Winston is the upside. Flacco probably the floor play. Like, yeah, I think Winston is solid. I mean, you could get 3 touchdowns and a pick or 2 as opposed to that safe play. But I mean, you can't trust Levis and Beathard. I mean, they're going to try to run the ball. There's no way you can play Beathard over or those guys. But I still roll with Flacco. I mean, I think that he can have 2 or 3 this week and easily 250. And he might not turn the ball over in this one. I mean, like I said, that interception was they were down late. They had a guy deep. I don't think he needs to do that, man. The underneath is there. He can pick apart this Jags defense. He hasn't forgot how to play football one bit.
Yeah, and everyone knows. So bye weeks this week too. Just so before we get too far, Arizona Cardinals and the Commanders. Pardon me. Sorry, I thought I still see them. So, anyways, let's get back to it. So the guy I have this week at quarterback is somebody I had. Was it 3 weeks ago when they played, or 2 weeks ago when they played Minnesota? 2 weeks ago when they played Minnesota, and I should have known better, man. I should have known better not to, start him that week because it's going to be a prime time game. What's going to probably happen in that game, especially with Minnesota, they're probably going to go, it's going to start super slow, and then mostly defensive plays here and there. You'll get maybe some field goals, maybe run a lot of ball, run the ball a lot, probably a lot of punts. Oh, maybe a touchdown. And that's exactly what happened in that game. Justin Fields legit didn't have to score a touchdown in that game to win the game. Like, that says a lot about that. So we go back to, you think about, when he played the Lions, 3 weeks ago. So he played the Lions 3 weeks ago, and he put up 104 rushing yards and 169 passing yards. But, passing yards, he's coming off, that injury, right? What is he going to go to? His legs. That's his go-to. I think we saw last week he really didn't have to run a lot. He threw a little bit too, right? Kicked a couple of 4 field goals to win. So he didn't have to do a lot last week against Minnesota. I think this week he goes up, runs a whole bunch again. I mean, they're going against the Lions. Like I said, last time they played against him, he was a top 10 quarterback. So give me Justin Fields this week.
His rushing prop is at, I think, 61.5 yards right now, and it's Wednesday. So, I mean, it's probably going to even go up a little bit more. So, they expect him to use his legs, and he did the first matchup. And DJ Moore can pick apart this defense. I know you might mention, Cole Kmet, is there. I mean, Detroit against the tight end. I think they're going to have to score points. I think Fields is definitely a good play for sure.
I mean, they slowed Kmet last time they played against him. Yeah. So
they've been a little better against tight ends, it seems like, overall.
I just think they've been allowing a lot of rushing. I mean, they allowed Justin Fields to rush all over them, So, I mean, we'll see what happens. I just think the opportunity is here for him to run, and I think he's going to get back to throwing the ball a little bit. So here's my prediction against Minnesota. I think he can do this week. If he can run, if he can run for 75 yards, get a touchdown, and then if he could throw for 150 yards, get a touchdown, that'll give you, 20, 25 points. That's good enough. And I think he can do probably more than that.
Yeah, Minnesota has quietly been a pretty solid defense. I mean, their pass D is much better than last year. I mean, I think they're around like 19th in yards per game, but they were 31st last year, and that run defense is 7th in the NFL, and I think they're giving up 19 points a game. I mean, it's not talked about much, but Minnesota's defense is much improved. So,
Oh yeah.
Detroit's been exposed plenty for as good of an offense and as good of a record they have. That defense has been exposed, and Chicago had them by what, 20 in that last matchup before they blew it. So,
Yeah, I think this is the opportunities here for them to come make a big. They're in Soldier Field this week. They're gonna, man, they could get a win. Watch them get a win this week. That'd be nuts. All right, let's see what I have next on the list. Let's go to running backs.
All right, give me my guy, Austin Eckler. This is the week for Eckler to be back to the guy that we expect him to be. He's had some tough matchups, the Ravens, the Patriots. The Chargers are not running the ball well, but come on, man. Right before that, Eckler had 3 weeks in a row where he had 20-plus fantasy points. He's still heavily involved. The Broncos give up the most points to running backs in fantasy football. They got to use him in the passing game as well. You can run on the Broncos. This is a game for Eckler just to get right. I mean, we're talking about a guy that was RB1, multiple years. He's not just done. I think the matchups have been tough. The Chargers' offensive line and overall play has just not been good. But Denver's strength is their passing game against the wide receivers, which the Chargers don't have any outside of Keenan Allen anyway right now. QJ had a solid game last week, given the opportunity, but I'm not jumping on that ship yet. Like, I think QJ will be a good receiver at the end of he's going to be a good NFL receiver. How good? I don't know. But this is not the matchup for him. Like, this is Eckler's week, man. Like, recency bias is so big in this game. And like I said, just a few weeks ago, Austin Eckler had 3 weeks in a row of 20-plus fantasy points. The matchup is there. I got to go with Austin Eckler, man.
And I really hope so. I mean, he's been kind of been a fart a little bit lately, right? He's kind of been not doing so hot. I want him to bounce back. It was pretty nice. I sold him right when he was at his hot point. And it sucks because I sold him for Aaron Jones and like an early first. And I was like, all right, I think this is the time where Aaron Jones is going to bounce back. And he's like, nope, I'm going to hurt myself. And I was like, damn it. And then here goes Eckler for a couple more games where he's really hot. I'm like, fuck, I really hope my investment where this guy always starts climbing up in the rankings. I'm like, all right, well, my investment for early first has just turned into a late first. Well, if he fizzled out and that guy started falling in the rankings again. So I'm safe. I have Aaron Jones. Hopefully he comes back healthy next year. Might be a little older. Maybe he just has a boom week right away and I can sell him off. If I have an early first, I'm all right with it.
Hey, and then Ronald in the comments there, talking about Eckler being slowed by coming back. But the thing about Eckler being slowed is in those 3 games, those were prior to now. So his ankle, I mean, unless it's reoccurring, I just think the matchups have been a little tougher for Eckler. I mean, like I said, coming back from that ankle, he still had, 20 plus in 3 straight. I think the Chargers have just been real bad as of late, and the opponents haven't helped, but they just also haven't thrown the ball. He has like 32 catches, I think, on the season, even missing a few games. Like, he's not nearly on the pace he's been on. They've got to use him in the passing game. And if they don't, he probably won't crack this top 12. Like, he's got to have 4+ catches, have a long run, and find the end zone. But he's the guy that can get you 2 touchdowns real quick. I see a big week for Eckler, so I hope.
Yeah, I mean, you see who my guy is as a farce. I think you're right at QB. So my guy at QB, my farce at QB, you can see in the background. But I think that's what you get, a little boost for Eckler. Like, he's going to do a lot more work this week. He's going to be the guy that, handles the workload for your Chargers. So I definitely agree with that. All right, we got Chino in here. He said full PPR flex, Gibbs, Swift, Lockett, or Flowers.
Man, I mean.
So I almost put Flowers. Oh, let's see. I almost put him as a force this week. There's something about that matchup.
Yeah, I mean, Ravens get the Rams, right? I mean, and we saw, like I said, we just saw, Flacco had some success against the Rams. I mean, Elijah Moore was targeted a ton. I mean, you could see Flowers going all over the field. There's just so many different weapons in Baltimore. You just don't know who it's going to be, right?
There's
Lockett, he got that boom. I mean, I feel like Metcalf is due for. I think Metcalf has a much better game against the Niners than he did the first time. He's had success against the Niners in his career. His last time out was a struggle. Just missed a deep touchdown. So I'm not playing Lockett over Flowers. Swift, I mean, there's a lot of points in that game, so I can see chasing the points, even though Dallas, against Swift, the matchup isn't the best. It's going to be a lot of passing like we saw, but I think Gibbs against the Bears. It's a tough question, man. I think I'm just
revenge game. It's going to be a Montgomery revenge game.
Yeah, I mean, he had that the first one, I mean, and then they were behind. If the Lions get ahead, there's going to be a lot more Montgomery. But Gibbs is getting 10 carries. He's getting the ball in the passing game. Like, the upside when the ball's in his hand, like, I think volume, you're going Gibbs or Swift. And I just think in the matchup, I think I'd have to lean Gibbs here, man.
Yeah, so I'm between Gibbs and Flowers. There's something about Flowers. I mean, last week against your Chargers, he put up massive points. He did find the
end zone twice. I mean, I can say that my
8 targets is a lot.
My tight end force play might have something to do with me not going Flowers in this. I wouldn't be mad at going Flowers here, but I just think you're guaranteed, probably 15 touches with Gibbs. They talked about Swift. They haven't said anything about him not playing, but he did get flattened. I saw a lot of talk about him being injured, but from what I've seen lately, there hasn't been anything. And he'll get touches too, but I'd rather have the Bears going against the Bears defense than the Cowboys defense, I think. It's going to be a lot of AJ, a lot of Devontae. Dallas should be able to put up points, and we've seen what happened. I mean, Philadelphia – the last 2 weeks, Buffalo and the Niners have just put up a ton of points. The Cowboys are going to do the same. So, I mean, they can use Swift in the passing game too, but I just think I like the upside of Gibbs here.
All right, so this week I'm going Chuba Hubbard, RB28. They're playing against New Orleans Saints. So Chuba has been absolutely balling the last 2 weeks, and in all honesty, not much else has been going on, right? I mean, it's not been very good there. Bryce Young really hasn't gotten things together. But that's besides this point. Over the last 2 weeks, like I said, Chuba has been the focus point of this offense. 196 total yards, 39 carries, 5 catches, 3 touchdowns over the last 2 weeks. He did this against the Bucs and the Titans. So I mean, he's been tearing it up. Chuba gets the Saints this week. Pretty similar matchup. And the Saints slowed down Gibbs and Montgomery tandem, but let Bijan run all over them, right? I'm thinking Panthers continue to this ground and pound this week and allow Chuba to absolutely put in work.
Yeah, that's I like the gutsy call there. I mean, New Orleans was a good run defense to start the season, but before this week against Detroit, you talked about Bijan, 5 straight games they were averaging, giving up 5 yards a carry after starting the season pretty strong. So there is times where that run D can be exposed. And that would be my fear is the matchup. But you mentioned, I mean, Tennessee and then Tampa Bay, who's really good against the run. I mean, Hubbard had no problem, so the volume's going to be there. Bryce Young cannot throw the football right now, whether it's – and I'm not saying it's all on him. The offensive line doesn't give him time. He's pressured on like 45% of his dropbacks. I mean, Jonathan Mingo's looking nice the last few weeks, but I mean, they have to feed Hubbard. So I think volume alone, I think it's a gutsy call. I'd say I'm a little fearful of that play, but that's what this is all about. We never know. I like the call, JC.
Just guts. Let's go, baby. We'll see what happens. That's what's fun about this show. That's what's fun about this show.
Exactly. Plus, you got to make the calls, man. You don't want to just take the 14th or 15th ranked guy. That's no fun.
Yeah. So let's see. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Of. Yeah. Let's see here. So, Fun Football Podcast was in here talking about CJ Stroud. He said, I was thinking to just roll him out. I have Geno as a backup, but Stroud has mostly, he's been awesome. I'm going to be talking about Stroud a little bit later. Or did I put Stroud in there? I don't remember. Let me see. I was going to.
I had.
No.
Yeah. No, we haven't talked yet. Right? That's right.
Yeah,
we haven't gotten to that yet.
Yeah. We'll get to some stuff. All right. So let's get to wide receivers now.
Wide receivers, yeah. So, I'm going to go with Davante Adams to hit the top 12 this week. I have a couple down the list too. Davante is like 17 or 18, depending on what you look at. But, he's had 5 for 73, 7 for 82 with a touch, and 6 for 86. And Aiden O'Connell's quietly played pretty good football, man. I mean, he's thrown for 240 and 270 the last 2 weeks. Looked good against the Chiefs throwing the football, especially in the first half. They're not going to be able to run the ball against Minnesota. Jacobs was a close farce for me, too. I just think that they'll use him in the passing game more than somebody else that I'll mention. But Jacobs, to me, is not a great matchup there. And I think that after the bye week, that's the spot. Like, feed Davante, feed your best players. We see this in the NFL every week. Like, give your best players 10, 12, 14 targets. I'm not worried. I mean, I think O'Connell, what did he have? 1 pick? I think he has 1 turnover in the last 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he's been doing pretty well.
But Minnesota's defense is solid, I just think that's the matchup. He's the guy. Feed Davante. This is as bad as some people have said he's been, maybe. The numbers are still there. I mean, 12.3 without a touchdown, 14.6 without a touchdown, 22.5 with a touchdown. I don't see why he can't produce those similar numbers this week. I do like one of the guys that you're going to mention. And if I want to go really far down to a receiver, I'll partner this up with my quarterback play. Maybe this is more like a DFS type deal or a real deep league. But I'm looking at Elijah Moore, dude. He had 12 targets last week. We talked about the Jags defense, 30th in the league in pass yards allowed. And not just last week. Moore had 9 targets, 7 targets, 7 targets. 44 yards, 60 yards, 44 yards. 2 of those games were the Broncos, the Ravens. Like, those are tough matchups. Flacco and him have a little rapport, right? They were with each other in New York, playing on that second string at times before Flacco was in. So I don't know if, Moore can really, if he gets a touchdown, he'd be close to that top 14 number. But he's definitely somebody that if you're looking for a deeper play, I mean, he's like wide receiver 50, right? Something like that. So, but hey, a Flacco, Elijah Moore combo, I'll tell you what, you'll have a lot of money elsewhere.
Oh, dude, that would be dope. That would be crazy, man. So I got a question for you though. So with Davante Adams being your guy, does that mean potential Cameron Bynum tackle prop?
I mean, I think that's probably always in play. I don't know what that line's going to be at, but
probably
they're
6.5.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and they're going to try to run the ball, and I would think they get the ball to Jacobs in the screen game too. So I mean, Bynum's going to be all over the place. I mean, I think he has to hit that, man.
Man, I love that kid. He played so crappy his first year, then he's like really turned around. I'm like really happy that he has because he's done really well, especially for betting purposes.
Yeah, definitely.
So, all right. So my guy, like you said, I heard a lot of people talking about this guy being a potential really good boom this week. So wide receiver 44 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Drake London. So, talk about a crazy second year for Drake London, not really sure what's been going on in Atlanta with Arthur Smith, this whole offense, it's kind of been, nobody really knows what's going on. That's why it's really hard to play players like this from these teams, right? So he's only had one finish inside the top 14 this year, going up against Washington at home, getting 9 catches on 12 targets for 125 yards. That's really big numbers. Talent is most definitely there, right, for Drake London. This week he gets Tampa Bay at home, and it's truly a great matchup. Even though, the last time he played Tampa this year, he finished as wide receiver 30. He was targeted 7 times. He's getting the targets, and Tampa has allowed 4 top 14 wide receivers in the last 5 games. It's his time to shine this week. I think he's good. His time to shine, baby.
I like London, man. I think the last time we did this a handful of weeks ago, I had London, and he had those few good weeks in a row, man, where he played well. I love this comment by Ronald. I've been on London all season long, man. Everybody's been against him.
I don't think it's really him, though.
No, and in the good match, here's the thing. I mean, in the good matchups, he does get fed the ball. I mean, as bad as people want to say Ritter is too, and I think 9 starts, Ritter has 3 top 10 finishes at the quarterback position. So a third of the starts, I mean, that means there's some production going, and it's been going to London. And a few of the games, he just, he didn't find the end zone, but had that 5 for 50, 5 for 60. There's about 4 or 5 weeks in a row that he hit his receiving prop for me, at over 60 yards or whatever it was. And the kid is still super young. That team is young. Yeah, I definitely am still buy low on Drake London if somebody doesn't want him.
Yeah, I think so too. Some people are pretty sour on him just because of what's going on with that team. Maybe Arthur's gone, things turn around, but he's only had 2 games under 5 targets. So I like that. I like that a lot. He's probably, if you go up average him out, he's probably averaging about 7 targets a game. Like, it's pretty close to almost 7 targets every game. It's pretty good. So, the talent's there, the targets are there. I just think that the play calling's not been great. That whole, people are pissed off about Pitts. People are pissed off about Bijan. People are pissed off about Ritter. Like, it's just like nobody knows what to do. So, I think this is the week. Let's cross our fingers.
He had 6 targets last time against Tampa, 5 catches for like 50-something yards, if I'm not mistaken. That was also on the road. This game is in Atlanta, which is much nicer inside the dome. I think that helps too. There's no weather there to worry about. So turn that into a touchdown. That's a 17-point game for London if he finds the end zone. So
yeah, I think that the opportunity is this week, man. Here it is. Let's go. Tampa's been pretty bad against receivers since their bye, so let's just get it. Come on.
Yeah, they've been pretty bad against wide receivers. That was when we first started talking about London a few weeks in. It was that matchup against Tampa Bay. It was that one of those weeks where we were saying about how bad their pass defense was on one of the shows with the Fantasy Football Advice Network. And that was where it kind of stemmed from, was that Tampa's defense was good, but not their pass defense. And yeah, but anywho, man, Drake London, obviously we're fans of that. What's up, Jerry? So tight end, huh?
Tight ends, baby.
All right, baby. So
I've been so bad at tight ends this year. I've gotten a couple right, but it's so hard. But sometimes I dig deep. The FARCE is the one that's been really hard for me. I got Evan Engram 1 week where he hadn't been a tight end 1. I think he only was outside. He only finished 1 time outside tight end 1, and then that week I picked him and he's finished tight end 22, and I'm like, yes.
Boom. Yeah. It doesn't. Like I said, it doesn't find the end zone on a few catches, and all of a sudden, you jolt up. So. And I'm going to refer to this guy. Hey, Harrison Bryant last week had 5 for 49 and a touchdown. So it's hard to predict sometimes what, nobody's predicting Harrison Bryant to have, 16 fantasy points, especially when he's the second tight end. So for me, though, I like this week, Gerald Everett. Bronco matchup again. We talked about the Chargers, man. Like, they do not really have a lot of receiving help. It's the secondary in Denver that's the best part of that defense. Everett last 2 weeks had New England and Baltimore, 2 of the worst matchups for tight ends. He had 4 for 44, 4 for 43. He had that hip injury, and I know this is a guy that has let a lot of people down, man. Like, high hopes coming in, streamer matchup, but he looks healthy. The hip looks good. He looked involved against 2 tough matchups. I like Herbert to look his way a lot in this game. And like we talked about, the touchdowns does all the world, right? You get a TD in one of those games, he's going from 8 to 14 or 15 points. And those were in tough matchups. I also like Isaiah Likely here. I'm not big on Likely all of this season, like over some of the tight ends. It's been a big discussion. Obviously, like, Freiermuth was the guy we talked about. That might change now with Trubisky. Who knows? But I do like Likely this week. Denver's the first best matchup. The Rams are the third best matchup. And like I said, Njoku didn't have a great game, but Harrison Bryant just had 5 for 49 and a touchdown. So Isaiah Likely had 4 for 40 against the Chargers. They could have fed it to him all day. This is an athletic guy in space. I think that they're going to use him in this matchup against the Rams. It's a great matchup for tight ends. What's crazy is, like, Likely, Flowers, and OBJ are all guys that can just be getting the ball in the middle of the field, out in space, and have a monster game. So I think there's 3 guys there that can be the guy, and that makes it a little tougher to choose. So that's why, for me, Everett is my number 1 there, but I also do like Likely in this matchup.
Yeah, but Trubisky just looks trashy.
Yeah, no, I hear you, coach. And if he's smart, he'll throw the ball to Freiermuth. I mean,
Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't disagree with that. I mean, I think, again, it's Beathard, Trubisky. Like, it's hard when you get thrown in the middle of the game. I mean, Trubisky only has like 4 days, to get ready for this one. I mean, I'm not saying Beathard has a good game, but, having a full week, knowing you're the starter, that changes. Trubisky's done it before. Like, they've got weapons there. Like, should be able to at least feed Freiermuth and Deontay, and I don't know if enough to feed all those guys, but
hopefully he feeds Freiermuth, man. I need him to be feeding Freiermuth. Been sitting on it for a while. We've seen him go off. You're like, yes, dude, this is what we've been waiting for. And then it's just like,
it's funny, like being unlikely, because when he first was coming out on waivers, I was one of those guys saying, like, I'm not, going on unlikely. I don't like the playoff schedule. And again, I still don't, and all the weapons that are there, but I do like the matchup against the Rams. So
yeah, I like the matchup.
Give me Gerald Everett to keep improving on those last 2 weeks in a good matchup, and give me Likely here.
I like that too, brother. I like that a lot. Targets have been up. I like that. So here's mine. Mine is like mine's basically a dart throw, but it's the best matchup this week, right? They get the best matchup against the tight end. So against the Cincinnati Bengals, I'm going Kylen Granson, tight end 32. All right, let me get the hate. Everybody. So this could blow up in my face, but I love the matchup. Kylen. Kylen's been put up serviceable numbers in good matchups. This is the best matchup he gets. He hasn't finished any higher than tight end 9 this year, and only 3 top 14 finishes. But like I said, I love the matchup. Last week he only had 34% of the snaps, which he absolutely been his lowest. But 3 targets, 3 catches, 72 yards. That's massive. His targets are starting to go up, and Minshew may throw him through the end zone this week. So if he can get 3 for 72 and a touchdown, boom! I would like that. It ain't happening, but let's just hope, man. The matchup is there for Kylen, and he's actually been somewhat serviceable in like I said, in when the matchup opportunities are there. So give me Kylen Granson if you really need a tight end this week. Hey Mel, if you're out there and you're missing Trey McBride, go out there and get you some Kylen Granson.
Hey, we've seen Cincinnati be that matchup. I mean, it took the Jags a while to remember that Evan Ingram's good and the Bengals are not good against tight ends. But once they fed him, it was there. We saw what Freiermuth did the first game back. Saw what I think Dalton Schultz had a massive game. I mean, the list goes on and on. And there's been a few good games for the Colts where the matchup, when they played, I think the Rams, I think Granson, Ogletree, and somebody else all had like 40-plus yards. So Minshew knows where the tight end is. Find that end zone, baby, and it's a good play.
Yes, Mel. Kylen Granson, Kyle, like Kyle, with an N on the end.
Kylen, you may have to scroll down a bit.
Kylen Granson, tight end 32. I'm telling you, it's his week. And if it's not, I'm sorry. I'll send you a Packers card, not the Dobbs card. All right, let's get into some farce players. But before we get into some farce players, I want to talk a little bit about pizza parlays. So pizza parlays is something that we like to do here at the Sports Affiliation. It's kind of something we've been doing for, man, it's been over a year now. I mean, we just did it for a while last year in the season. We started about week 7, week 6, I think, last year. So well over, a full season that we've been doing it. So basically what it is, parlays, we like to do bets here at the TSA. So basically you pick 3 teams to win against, it's a money line bet. So basically you're picking a team to win against another team straight up. And then you basically build your pizza. So you get the cheese, you get the crust, you get the sauce, but you can choose whatever sauce or cheese you want. But then pick any 3 toppings you want. So, right, 3 toppings that you would put on your pizza. Eventually, we'd like to make this into a game so we can do like a giveaway at the end of the year. Whoever has the most points at the end of the year, maybe we'll send you all a pizza or something like that, or a couple pizzas for the Super Bowl. So that's what we'd like to do eventually. So we kind of just want to get this going and have fun with it. So pizza parlays, pick 3 teams that you think are going to win this week, and then build your pizza. 3 toppings on your pizza. Let's get to it. Farce players, baby. Farce QBs.
Boom. All right. So this name came up in the chat. For me, it's got to be CJ Stroud. It's the matchup, and it's all the other top quarterbacks having better matchups too, right? Like, it's really hard for me to fade some of these other quarterbacks. Like, you've got Hurts, you've got Dak, Howell's on a bye. Herbert's matchup could be tough, but you've got, Purdy gets the Seahawks, so he's had success. Like, it's hard for me to bet against these other guys who have much better matchups when Stroud's facing a Jets team that is just phenomenal against wide receivers, and they've shut quarterbacks down most of the season. Dak and Josh Allen had, good games against them, but Tua, Herbert, Hurts, Mahomes all struggled. Stroud last week, he did throw for 274, but only found the end zone once. It's a Jets team that gives up barely 20 points a game on the road in New York. It's just a tougher matchup. They're going to have to grind it out. The Jets can't stop the run, so it could be an ugly, tough game for the Texans to pull out, as bad as the Jets are. But this has to be the week, where he struggles a little bit, just like last week. And like I said, a lot of it to me is if you look at the other top 12 quarterbacks, their matchups are so much juicier and so much better that it's hard for me to take one of them out. So part of it is that, but part of it is those statistics. I mean, Jets are number 1 against wide receivers. I just don't think Sauce Gardner, and that top 5 passing defense lets Nico do what he did last week to the Broncos. And Stroud isn't the leading passer in the league or close to it by not being smart. Like, he will find Noah Brown, he will find Robert Woods, he'll throw it to Brevin Jordan, who the Jets not as good against tight ends as they are receivers. Like, Stroud's a smart quarterback already as a rookie. He will make the right play call. He's not going to force it to Nico. He had a great game last week, but I'm going Stroud.
He still finished as QB 15. With 200,
right, the one touchdown. I mean, the one touchdown is there. I mean, the Jets only give up 20 a game, so that's 2 touchdowns. So you got to throw both of them and throw for that 250 to find your way probably in the top, 12 or 14. So I think it's a lot to ask in this matchup.
I think you're right, man. And with Dell being gone too, that definitely hurts. Is Noah Brown going to be back? If Noah Brown's back, that might help a little bit. But yeah, I agree here, man. I think this is tough. And by the way, this isn't a start-sit show. This is like it's like a precautionary show, right? Like last week, I mean, I got laughed at. I mean, friggin' Greg Kellogg, he was laughing at me. He's like, you got the balls to say, that Patrick Mahomes will finish outside the, top 14. I'm like, hey, man, I'm just going off the data, man. I'm just, I'm looking at the data and I'm like, here's a player, that we're picking from players that are top 14 at the position, so if we can find a player in there that we can say, hey, maybe this player this week has, potentially a bad matchup or something here is not going to work out for them, and they could potentially finish outside that top 15, that's kind of good information to know. We're not saying, hey, don't start this player, it's just like start them with caution, like that's more what this show's about, and right, if you had listened to me last week, it's like, CJ Stroud's like, all right, if you're in a super flex league, I'm still starting him, right? He's still going to be in my super flex. Like, I'm still think he's going to get like, 17, 18 points. And that's probably more than any other flex at that position is going to get for me. So at that point, it's like, he's not going to be a top, QB1, but he's going to be a serviceable QB2, That's basically what we're kind of saying here. Cool beans.
Cool beans. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be hard to probably have a quarterback, that you start over Stroud. Like we said, we always say just temper expectations is the way we like to put it. I mean, he could finish QB 15. He would be a farce based on the rules of this show. So.
Yeah, I agree with that, man. And we'll get to everybody's comments about the pizza parlays once we get to that segment. We're going to get through Force and Farce. Then we'll get to our pizza parlays, and then we'll build our DFS lineup. All right, so let me get to my farce QB for this week. So I got another Justin here. It's your guy, man, Justin Herbert. So I took him against the Broncos. I mean, so Justin Herbert, he been an absolute downward spiral. Like last week, like he looked bad. The week before that was a little bit, pretty bad too. QB 15 that, and then QB 23. So he's starting to work his way down. And that was against Green Bay, New England, a little bit harder defenses, right? But this week he gets the Broncos, who have been slowing good quarterbacks down. Last week they kept skyrocketing CJ Stroud from eclipsing, a top 14 QB range, which we were just talking about. 3 weeks ago, they slowed down another top 10 QB, Josh Dobbs. And they also slowed down the number 1 QB, Josh Allen, right? So what I'm saying here is that I think that, Herbert's just going to struggle a little bit. What we talked about is I think that your man Eckler gets going, and, he's the person who ends up scoring a couple touchdowns on the ground. They keep that, offensive moving. Herbert still will put up some numbers, but like we talked about, I just think he finishes right outside that top 14 this week.
Hard to argue with that. I mean, if he wasn't a Charger, I might make that pick, but it's hard to go. It's hard to pick those guys, But I mean, and he has had some tough matchups, I mean, again, if you watch that Ravens game, that offensive line let him just get demolished. Like he could not get the ball out of his hands. The game in Green Bay, like they're never as good on the road. Quentin Johnson catches that wide open pass. They probably win that game. New England was just cold and ugly, and that was nothing good about that game. And no excuses for Herbert, what he's done, but lack of an offensive line, lack of a running game, and lack of weapons in the passing game. Everyone wants to talk about how Purdy's a system quarterback. I'm sorry. You could almost say everybody in the NFL at least needs their weapons to really succeed. I won't say a system quarterback, but you have to have everything in play to be successful every week. Like how many guys are we seeing struggle, right? Like it's crazy to me how people just, throw somebody down so quick, and not just Herbert,
what it really comes down to is decision making. Like if you're not a great decision maker as a quarterback, like if you're not smart as a quarterback, I mean, you could have all the weapons in the world and still not be a good quarterback, right?
Right. And don't forget, I mean, Herbert played with a broken finger for a handful of weeks. Last year he played, the entire season with a fractured set of ribs where you can't even breathe. And he's been in the league for 3 years. And just go look at the 60-game stats. Like Herbert's a dog. I mean, anybody want to give him up? Like I'd buy him all day. But for this week, Denver doesn't give up a lot of points. I mean, I think it's nice that they're at home, but it's probably going to be low and ugly because that's all they've been doing,
Jerry says, look for Jordan Love to come back to earth a little bit.
I mean, you got the Giants this week, though, man. Love looks good lately.
Yeah, man, he does look good, but he just lost Christian Watson, who was just absolutely balling. But it doesn't matter. Like that's what's crazy about that offense is they just keep finding these receivers, right? One of my favorite receivers right now is Jaden Reed. Like I've been this kid is just, there's something special about this kid. I think next year he's going to be I don't know what it is, but there's when he touches the ball, man, he looks good. He's got hands on him.
Yeah, I like Jaden Reed. I just traded away Jaden Reed in a league, but I like it. I mean, so I'm not a contender, and to a contending team, I traded Kyron Williams and Jaden Reed for Ramondre Stevenson, T. Higgins, and one of the first 4 picks in the second round.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
It works for both teams, I mean, I also think I love Kyron, but running backs are just throwaways in the NFL. And I think Kyron could be good for years, but there's a world where he has a good year or two. And I mean, Higgins to me is an alpha, man, as long as he's healthy. I loved Ramondre going into this year, and that has a lot to do with it, right? But Jaden Reed was tough to give up, but I have a lot more wide receivers on that team too, right? So it worked out for both sides. I mean, pull the trigger and live with the consequences, man.
No, I feel you, dude. I feel you there 100%. All right, dude, let's get into some running backs.
All right. So my running back is going to be Travis Etienne.
Oh, yeah.
I made this call on him the other time they had a tough matchup, and he had 40 yards rushing but found the end zone twice, and that hurt that call. But so be it. I got the call wrong. He found the end zone. That's a part of it. But, I mean, Etienne, man, you look at his rushing totals, 45, 56, 52, 35, 79, 53, 55, did have a buck 36, 55, 88, 40, 77. He had that stretch of touchdowns. And I looked at ETN, I looked at Rachaad White, I looked at Josh Jacobs. The factor for me was the Browns do not give up a lot of yards in the air to running backs. I know Beathard's probably going to try to look his way, but I just don't think the Browns let that happen, where I see Jacobs and White getting that work in the passing game, although they might get stopped on the ground against, Atlanta and Minnesota. And I just think that they're going to stack the box. They're going to make Beathard throw, right? I mean, no Kirk. They're going to just need extra help in there. Even if he does get a few catches, I think Cleveland's able to swarm and stop him. So for me, I just don't see him really getting over that, unless he gets in the end zone, once or twice. I don't see a big day. Again, the volume's there. So these are studs, right? These are stud players that we expect to have good games. We're picking guys that, am I sitting ETN? There's no way I have a running back on my roster to sit Travis Etienne. Like, I just don't. But I'm hoping that if he has 17 or 18 for 50, that he finds the end zone 2 times and balls out for me. But give me Travis Etienne, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to pick. Like, so here's Jerry right here. So he says, D Swift to struggle again versus Cowboys. So Swift was one of my picks last week as a farce, and it hit. So, I mean, like I said, it's hard, but I think I went 2 for 2 for 2 right, 2 wrong on my farce players. So, I mean, 50-50 is not too bad. I'll take it. I'll take 50.
I like the Swift call, man. And I like that comment by Ronald real quick, too. The zero faith and the longevity. Oh, the beard, baby. Yeah. The longevity of Williams, referencing Gurley, Henderson, Akers. And that's what I think the beauty of the trade was. Like, for this year, though, Kyron could be a league winner for that team. And so you're willing to part with 2 guys that aren't going to help you. I thought it was a beautiful trade in that fashion of just how it works. For both teams, it works the right way. And if Kyron does fall out, it's probably an even better trade for me. So I'm not going to be upset about that.
No, dude, I think it looks awesome for you. It's a great trade. Iggy said, Jordan loves truth. Man, he's been looking really good. Yeah, I kind of take back a little bit what I said. I mean, he started off like I was like, all right, man, this is a guy is just going to be touchdown dependent, which he was. Then you started seeing him just go like this again, and then boom, he came back. Like, man, if Watson gets rolling, and like Dobbs is a hell of a good, he's a great like number 2, like great number 2. Like, he kind of struggles at 1 because I think I don't think he plays a good 1. He still puts up points, but everyone around him I feel like puts up more points when he's like the guy, the 1. So, I mean, I think that Dobbs is great. Reed is great. Then they got who's the other one? Wicks, right? Or Weems?
Yeah. Dontavian Wicks, yeah.
Yeah, he's good. Like, they got like a bunch of these just like, wide receivers. You're like everyone's getting involved, and Love looks, I mean, tough to say it, but he looks pretty decent.
And here's the thing too, like, just like Rodgers last year, or looking at guys on the Jets, like Green Bay always finds a way to have a pretty solid offensive line, and like that helps a lot, to have that little bit of time. But Love is making all the throws, and to add to that Watson point, he may be out, but like Dontavian Wicks just kind of went to be the odd man out, and now he gets to come right back up, Dobbs sucks.
Dobbs does not suck.
I mean, I like Jaden Reed on that team, and when we talked another time,
we read a lot.
I mean, we mentioned him being, wide receiver, 1 on that team. So,
Iggy asks, how do you see Taysom Hill doing this week? I think the app doesn't matter. It's just the fact that Taysom Hill, he's a player that you can basically stick anywhere. I mean, that's the crazy thing is like you can set. I mean, he basically hikes the ball as a quarterback, and then he'll run the ball, or he'll snap outside and he'll get us a pass in the backfield, right, and he'll just run the ball. Or he'll throw the ball. I mean, like, I'm sticking with it, man. Like, I would be playing him. He's been doing pretty well. I mean, Jameis Winston's in there. Maybe he wants to throw the ball a little bit more, and they don't get Taysom involved as much. But
I mean, you're talking about a guy that no matter what finds a way to get volume, right? Like we were talking about some of the plays earlier, like getting the ball in your hands. Like he can catch passes, he can be the quarterback, he can run, and he's going to get the opportunity. There really is not games anymore where, he goes from being involved to having 1 or 2 touches. Like he's getting the work. So unless you have a tight end that's consistently producing, like I'm going to take the upside of Hill. Like you have to right now. And never been that Hill guy. Like, I've tried to kind of stay away from that play for a long time, but I think right now, I mean, you have to play him if he's on your team.
Coach, they might end up starting, Taysom at halftime, after the
He
first
said it's
half.
not that hard, He said it's like his third position. So, I mean.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just my third position. All right, let's get into what do we got next? Receipt. No, so it's mine, right?
You're running back.
My running back. So this week I went. I mean, this is kind of bold, but I went Raheem Mostert, who's RB2. So here's the deal: Mostert has really been shining without Achane, right? He's been, Achane in the pecking order, but we saw what happened last week, right? Achane got loose. Last week Mostert he had his lowest snap share for only 38%. And only 11 carries on the day compared to Achane, who had 61% snap share, 17 carries, 2 rushing touchdowns. Mostert, lucky he had himself a touchdown because he would have had an absolutely horrendous day last week. He still finished as a decent running back, but that touchdown basically saved his day. My guess this week is Achane gets rolling again. Mike McDaniels doesn't, continues to feed the rock and be caught. I mean, it's just. Be cautious when you're starting Mostert this week. He's only had 2 top 14 finishes over his last 6 starts. So let's think about that too.
Nice. Like that number right there. Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't find the end zone, I mean, Miami's offense is great. They're going to get up and down the field. If he gets, I was just going to say what Coach is saying, like Miami's going to put up points. If they get down at the 1 and Mostert's in the game, he might get you a touchdown or 2, but not really put up the numbers. But if they fall in the end zone instead of falling at the 1, he could have a really tough day, numbers wise. I like that call, man. Coach said it right there. TD or bust for sure.
Ronald says Mostert's always been good. You just can't stay healthy. I mean, this year he's been really healthy, right?
Even to add to that point, as we get later in the season, the Dolphins are a playoff team. They want Mostert on that team. Like, why not lean on the other running backs a little bit here down the stretch when you're in a good position? There's no reason to run Mostert into the ground, right? He's healthy. They want him in the playoffs. They want all those guys, they want that whole system, that whole group of what they like to do. So that could feed into him maybe getting a little less work too,
Yeah, I agree 100%, man. I agree. And I mean, man, I don't know, man. I don't know why they're not trying to keep Achane healthy. I mean, he's a rookie. I mean, he looks phenomenal when he's out there. Phenomenal. All right, let's get into wide receivers. Let's get it.
All right. So I'm going, man, I wanted to go different teams here, but I just had to kind of combo it up, man. It's Nico Collins for me. Kind of stated the reasons with Stroud. It's the same thing. Sauce Gardner is legit. The Jets' pass defense, they're number 1 against fantasy wide receivers. I think they see what he did last week against Denver. I just don't see the Jets allowing him to have that monstrous of a day. Now, like we said, does that mean he does nothing? Of course not. They're going to feed him the ball. Coach brought up in the comments Dalton Schultz possibly being back. You got Noah Brown out there. We talked about Stroud being a smart quarterback, throwing to the open man. I think the Jets are going to make other guys beat them. So, if you're looking for 10 for $130 and a touchdown, I just don't think this is the week. With that said, I think Nico can still put up numbers, but, the Jets just don't give up a lot of passing touchdowns. They don't give up a lot through the air. So there's not a lot of opportunity for him to have a huge week. So I like the call there, man. I kind of talked about all the reasons already a few times. So,
yeah, this could be a really low scoring game. This could be more of a defensive play game. What's the over? Do you know the over under on this game?
I'll find it right now.
All right, and I'll get to my guy. All right, so I went, let's see. So I went, I feel like this is an easy pick, but so Adam Thielen, wide receiver 14, they're going against New Orleans. Bryce Young experience is starting to fizzle out. Thielen feeling burnt. He's feeling the brunt of it. Adam hasn't put up a top 14 number since before their bye week, which was back in week 7. So that's 6 straight games being ranked in the top 14 and failing to succeed. That is no good whatsoever. Adam's about to get a rough matchup this week, going up against the stout Saints defense, whom are ranked 3rd overall against wideouts. There's a reason I've got Chuba, as my force this week. It has everything to do with the reason I have Adam as a farce this week. Start him as a mediocre wide receiver 2, or 3, or even a flex. I'm not excited about it though.
I'm not excited about it though. I mean, they haven't been using Thielen the last couple of weeks, man, at all. So I don't know.
Because if you go look at Bryce Young, go look at his fantasy points. I don't think he's eclipsed 10 points in the last 4 weeks. It's bad.
And it's crazy because Tennessee and Tampa Bay are 2 of the best matchups, and he absolutely, did nothing against those defenses. So, I mean, I know that,
I think you said this again. I think you said this before. I think you said this for Thielen. You said it's the same thing for Thielen, I think 2 weeks ago, and Thielen still did bad. I don't think it matters. I don't think the matchup matters. And I said the same thing to you, Coach. I said I don't think the matchup matters just because Bryce Young sucks. It's not even that he sucks. I think it's just offense. It's just going nowhere. I mean, who else they got? They got Mingo, and then who else do they got? What the hell's his name from LSU?
They got Chark and Marshall and
Terrace Marshall. Yeah, I mean,
it's like they also, not that they really care because they're not in it, but what use do they have to use Thielen? They need to see what this team is without Adam Thielen. We talked about that. They give up a 45% pressure rate, on dropbacks. I mean, what do you expect the guy to do? I mean, but I don't know. I think Thielen's kind of peaked this season, so we'll see. Maybe he can, come back. But Coach said Terrace Marshall been inactive. Yeah, I just mentioned the receivers on that team. They have nobody. I mean, the Panthers are awful.
It's terrible. They got Tommy Tremble, right?
Yeah, Tremble, Chark. Mingo's looked pretty good the last few weeks, and I think they'll try to give him the ball more and more. They want to see what they have in a guy like Mingo. Not in an old man.
That's a 3rd-round pick in him and hope that he turns out next year. I mean, if you're in Dynasty, he might be somebody that you might just go throw a 3rd or a 4th out there. Somebody might bite on that.
Yeah, I like Mingo. I do. I think we talked last week. I said it was a Mingo week against Tampa, not a Thielen week. And it was, I think, 6 for 60 for Mingo or something like that.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, Mingo's talented as hell.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, what do we got next? Tight ends?
All right. Yeah, cool. So another combo deal here. I'm going to go, you mentioned this guy too. I'm going to go Evan Ingram. Browns are just super tough against tight ends. It's Beathard in there. We saw a lot the other night too. Ingram had to be in there and block. I think he's going to have to do that again. If Beathard's smart, right, he's going to try to get, ETN and Ingram involved in the passing game, but I'm just trusting the Browns defense here. That those matchups aren't good for it. I just don't think the Browns let them have their way in that area. So, that's pretty much it for me on that, man. I just trust in the Browns defense and how good these matchups have been for them all season long. That give me Evan Ingram, man.
What's up, Daniel? Appreciate you coming through. Yeah, dude, not much to say about tight ends. I mean, tight ends have been hard for me. Like I said, I hit on Ingram. I really hope you hit on Ingram because this will be only his 3rd time then outside. That's he's been on fire. We saw what he did last week. He was on fire. And that's what he's been almost all year, right? He's been like that almost all year. So it's bold. I like taking the bold stuff.
I mean, it's Browns are number 1 against fantasy tight ends, but I think, Ingram's almost getting to the point where he could be matchup proof, but again, with no Lawrence in there, I think no Lawrence in there adds to that.
I did the same route when I took Ingram. I did the same route. It was because they played against the 49ers, and they shut him down. I mean, they shut everybody down. All right, let's get to it. All right, so I took Cole Kmet this week. I know you're talking about him being super good. I mean, he has been really damn good. Finishing, he's been really solid. Finishing as a top 14 tight end, 7 out of 12 weeks. It's just, pretty damn good for a tight end. 2 weeks ago, he looked really solid against Minnesota, who's allowed him to get, go 7 for 7 on catches. He's coming off a bye week and going up against the Lions defense, who shut him down 3 weeks ago. Even though I have my guy Fields as top performer this week, I still don't think Cole puts up the numbers, exactly like last time. I think that, he'll be more of a blocker. He'll get a couple catches maybe, but I think that, we see Fields run the ball again more, and, he'll probably target, he'll hit DJ Moore, and DJ Moore takes it to the house or something. He gets a lot of yards off of a small, catch and huge run. That's what you want to see from DJ Moore. So I think that's kind of what we see this week from Cole Kmet. More of a blocker, couple catches.
I like it. I think that's a bold call. I think they definitely need him to to be in this game and produce. But I kind
of agree with that, Coach. But like I said, but everyone knows, we're picking top 14 players who we think, at their position can potentially miss. We're not saying these are not sit or start players. These are our, hoping these players boom, or hoping basically players can bust or fall outside that top 14. So, all right, let's get into some pizza parlays. Let me go back up here real quick.
Oh, and that over-under on Houston and the Jets is 33.5. So, I mean, it's 2 touchdowns for the Texans. I mean.
So let me see where here we got. Ronald said, I don't know if he got his parlay in, but he said pepperoni, sausage, and extra cheese. Mel says Packers, Chiefs, Vikings. I got Vikings this week's too. Coach says Texans, Dolphins, Lions. That was with his Alfredo. He said chicken Alfredo pizza tonight. Let's see what else we got in here for any more parlays. And like I said, if anyone wants to get their pizza parlays in, what a pizza parlay is, this is a fun thing that we've been trying to do. We want to get it going. So potentially next year we could be sending somebody a pizza for the Super Bowl or a couple pizzas for the Super Bowl. But, parlay bets, pick 3 teams that you think will win this week, NFL teams that you think will win this week, and then pick 3 toppings, that you would put on your pizza if you're ordering one tonight. So, what do you got for me, brother?
Let's see. I'm going Cowboys, Browns. And I had the Packers in there. I was trying to maybe find another team that was maybe plus money to juice it up. But just give me, Packers, Cowboys, and Browns. Plus 198. Just trying to, get a little juice here, a little sweeter there, but I can't find a plus team that I like to not ruin that right now. So,
all right, let me see. I think I put a plus team. Who did I put in there for a plus team?
Oh, and I'll go with my traditional red sauce, pepperoni, chicken, and bacon. I won't do.
That sounds fire! I'm gonna have to order that.
I do the white sauce and always switch it up a little, but give me the traditional pepperoni, chicken, bacon. Can't go wrong.
Ronald says Eagles, baby.
Cowboys getting that payback this week.
Iggy said bold call on Kmet. He said, but I did right. He branching the thoughts of him covering Kmet some. Yeah, I mean, he could. Branch has been crazy good this year, coming up being a rookie. All right, so let's see. So I went Ravens at minus 345, then Vikings at minus 155, and then Broncos at plus 120.
That was probably the one I liked the most, but I just didn't want to pick the Broncos. So I will say the plus money teams, that's probably the most likely one to happen. I mean,
oh, damn. Let me see if I got my odds here. Oh, here it is. Odds is plus 373. $10 gets you 46.68.
Nice.
All right, so next thing we're gonna do on the list. Appreciate everyone hanging out tonight. It's been an absolute blast. Tonight's been a great show. Love having you on, Evan. I mean, we've had great comments in the chat. Chat's been rolling. We really appreciate that tonight, everyone. Tomorrow we got a lot of shows again. Tomorrow we have Bob Lung on. So make sure if you're on Twitter, go check us out. Go check it at the Sports of Philly. As you see down like that right below my name here. Go make sure you're following us. Greg Kellogg, who is also a Hall of Fame writer for the sports, for the Fantasy Football Sports Association, Writers Association. He's part of the, part of our crew at TSA, and then him and Tip, they run a show called Thursday Check Down, and we always have a guest on every week from the industry, and then either Iggy or I are also a guest. So this week I'm a guest. Iggy will be running the show behind the scenes, but yeah, come check it out on Twitter. It's just a Twitter space. We want everyone to get involved. So if you're somebody in the audience, you want to come up and talk, that's what the show is all about. We want to either answer questions about your fantasy teams or, Mel, we're going to do a break too. I'm going to be doing a break also. So that's afterwards. Obviously we got the watch party on Thursdays. It's going to be a really good one. This is going to be my last select packs I got. I got a Mega and I got a Blaster. So we've been hitting some pretty dang good cards out of here. It's crazy. I pulled a Trevor out. I pulled out of my mystery packs. I actually pulled a numbered Trevor Lawrence, and he ends up going down.
Oh, it's terrible.
But yeah, we'll end up doing that. It'll probably be the same buy-in as last week, 35. I think I can do 35 for that, and then we'll do a jersey. So let me just check see what it is. I think it's 35, but let me just double check. I'm going to be getting some more products for the next week. I'm already looking for more jerseys and stuff like that. I've been looking for more footballs, trying to get more mini helmets. I've really been looking for pylons.
Nice.
They have autographed pylons. Yeah, so I'm saying not everyone has that. So I'm like, I'm out here like I'm searching for good shit. I'm not just giving away. Like I've seen some autographs where you're just like, it sucks too, because some good players you're like, I don't even want to, like JJ, like his autograph is literally like a J and a J, and you're like, man, that's shit. Like Randy Moss was like, he would like write his shit out and he'd be like, straight cash, homie. Or he'd like, you'd see people straight like write like, like Hall of Fame, this year, or like, man, you'll get people that write cool shit on their stuff. And, I've been looking for, or even like, Javonte Williams, his is like all the way across the top of the 3. Like that's the stuff I want to see. I want to see a full, like sick autograph. So like those things I've been looking for. I still got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Hall of Fame boxes left. So I'm going to be doing that tomorrow. So we're going to have 8 spots for that. I'll put that out tonight after the show. But yeah, let's get a DFS lineup in. Let me pull that up. Present. Share screen. All right. So we do this every week. Let's get a little bit more bold this week. If they haven't been watching, like, All right. So, we got $50,000 to spend. That's our salary cap. 1 QB, 2 RBs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, a flex, and a defensive special teams. Damn, coach said Embiid had 48 points tonight.
Yeah, quick basketball shout out. Tobias Harris is on the no bet list for sure.
The no bet list?
Sixers score 130 points. The guy has like 6 points. And
oh, no.
Terrible. 3 for 9 in like 35 minutes. That's all right, though. My guys on the Nets are Bridges and Cam Johnson are balling out, so we'll take it.
The no bet zone. No bet zone.
No, Tobias Harris, that was his last chance tonight. He failed big time, so.
Ronald says Embiid and Maxey are legit. All right, let's Maxey. Get into
imagine if they kept Jimmy Butler instead of Tobias Harris, but
oops. All right, what do we got here? Let's get into
it's I was thinking about this before. Dude, it's so hard to keep Tyreek out of this lineup. The guy is just insane every week, but obviously he's the most expensive.
Yeah, but do you want to do your bold one that you were talking about? Let's do your bold one.
Well, if we do Tyreek, we could go like Flacco, Elijah Moore.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Let's get bold.
Or yeah, because we probably can't do like.
I'm getting bold. Let's get bold. That's what I said. Let's try to get bold with it.
Because Minshew Pittman, but Pittman's not going to be cheap,
No, he's not going to be cheap, but he's probably going to ball. All right. And then what'd you say? Let's go Tyreek. Okay.
Man, last week I had some lineups with Minshew and Pittman, and then I had Tyreek, but it was like just a little too high. So I'm like, all right, I'll just play Waddle because he should dominate too. And it's like all of those, like Tyreek just balled out. I'm like, man, I should have figured out a way to sub Tyreek in and change somebody else. But like, he's just so hard to keep out of the lineup, dude.
Got everyone talking ball in here. Like it. Multi-sports over here. That's what we do.
It's what we
All
do,
right.
baby.
All right, so let's get into it a little bit. Let's see what we can do at tight end. I mean, we could go. I mean, if you want to get some more big ball and players, let's go with my guy, Granson.
Okay, all right. Let's put Granson in there.
And then we can just build a bunch of ballers.
Yeah, I mean, I like a lot of guys down. I mean, I like Granson down there. I mean,
look at that. That's so cheap, bro. It's $2,600, man. That's like nothing, bro.
Dude.
Look at all the money. All right, so I mean, you could, if you want to go, you could go McCaffrey if you wanted to. What else we got? You said you like Eckler this week. We got Achane if you want to play him. I mean, they go against Tennessee though.
Yeah, who else is we're getting a little lower. Yeah, I don't like anybody to really I mean, we can go McCaffrey and then pick somebody lower. How much lower is Eckler than McCaffrey? 1,500?
The next guy below him.
So Eckler's 76, McCaffrey's 92.
I mean, we can see what we got here. I mean, it takes us down
McCaffrey's gonna ball out again, I'm sure, against Seattle. But wide receiver's a lot deeper, I think, than the running back.
Yeah, we can literally go way down here if we want to.
I mean, we can go with London. We could go.
Ooh, he's probably cheap as hell too.
He's always cheap, man.
$4,600.
Who's on the defense?
Moss is 5,900.
Yeah, they're going to feed. I mean, you got to think Moss gets 17 to 20 carries in this game. I mean,
we could do that, and then we could just smash somebody at flex. Moss is 5,900. So let's see. Is there somebody that's a little bit less
than Moss?
Yeah, that we like. You got Jalen Warren there.
You could go Zeke.
Ooh, I don't
he's
mind
59
that.
too. You don't like Zeke?
No, I'd rather have. I think.
There's not much I like. What about who else is down?
Zeke is 54. So you save a little bit. Chuba's
AJ,
there.
AJ Dillon against that giant run defense. They've been using Dillon, man. I mean, he's quietly been.
He's quietly
18 for 73. I mean, he just needs to find the end zone, obviously, but I don't know if I like that for.
He's too busy farming, dude. Do you see that shit?
Yeah, and it's not much less than Moss for the value, like probably.
AJ Dillon on his time off, he literally streams and he's a farmer. Like he's farming, like video game farming. Like he has a video game farm, and that's what he does. He streams doing that.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That's what he does on his time off. And he wears a cowboy hat. It's amazing. Ronald says Zeke, maybe Madison. Mel says Pacheco. She says AJ Dillon. Ronald says not Dillon.
Mel says why? Well, we're just trying to go. If we can go a little lower than the cost, that's why. I mean, I'm not.
All right, we can go low on me. Oh, what do you want to go on defense? I mean, that's the real question.
I mean, the crazy thing is, last week Dillon only had one, but there's been a few weeks this year where he's caught 3 or 4 passes, which is surprising. But they used Patrick Taylor a good amount the other night too. It seemed like so. Yeah, Dillon's scary. I mean, he could just be a flat out dud.
Yeah, he definitely can.
Whether the Packers play well or not, like he could just do nothing.
This is the first time you see Dallas way down here.
What about the Browns' defense down there?
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it.
Or, do you like You like somebody better than that around that cost?
Let's just see what we can get here. Need Zay Flowers here. Chuba's here.
Well, you love Flowers and
I like
Chuba,
them
so I
both.
mean,
They're both good. You got Jordan Addison here. I don't know about that. I mean, you're gonna see Justin Jefferson should be back. I'm assuming.
yeah, it seems like it. I mean, I think obviously, I mean,
I don't mind
Zay.
a lot of players down here. I mean, Rasheed Rice. I mean, they get Buffalo though. That's tough.
No, I think Zay is better than any of those other receivers from what's on there.
Yeah, to
And
me, it's
Chuba's
like
heavily
Chuba.
involved,
Yeah,
but I mean, the matchup is probably better for Zay than for Chuba, right? Even though Chuba's been kind of matchup proof the last 2 weeks, he could easily, like, I love the bold take, but he could easily be shut down by the Saints too. I mean,
I don't mind the Zay call.
I think I trust Zay more.
Myers could be good. Yeah, I don't know. I think one guy on that offense is going to be good for receiver, and like you said, it's probably going to be Adams.
I mean, Jacoby, I mean, he had 2 touchdowns week 1. I feel like he's just disappeared ever since. I know he hasn't been terrible. I'm just feels like his stock went so high that he hasn't been able to live up to that, but he's still involved. I mean,
he had a good game last week against Kansas City.
That's what I mean. See that, but there you go. Yeah, 2 targets, 1 target, 5 for 2. But the last 2, Miami and Kansas City. The thing is, though, even with Devontae, like, how much are they going to have to throw the ball, right? Like, they were behind against KC, behind against Miami. Like, Minnesota keeps things low and ugly.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's going to be low and ugly.
It's just the volume, like, and Coach brought up, O'Connell maybe turning it over if you get an interception and it's 20-17. Like, I just think it's a Devontae target game. So,
I think we're going.
I like Zay. I like Zay over Jacoby, like, by a mile.
Yeah, I like Zay too. We're going to go Zay. I just wanted to see. All right, let's get this done and let's get out of here. So we got Flacco, McCaffrey, Zach Moss, Elijah Moore. Oh, that's not the right Moore. Yeah. Oh, what am I thinking? Yeah, it is. I was thinking somebody else. All right, we're good. Elijah Moore, Tyreek Hill, Drake London, Kylen Granson, Zay Flowers, and the Browns defense. This is ugly, but these ugly teams, man, that's the ones you see at the top. You're like, what? All right.
Well, I mean, Minshew Pittman was good last week and it went well. A lot of people are probably going to play that again this week. You might even get some Browning Chase in there, which isn't bad because Browning's super low, but Chase is a lot. I mean, if Moore finds the end zone and Flacco does what he did last week, the rest of this team should do well, man. Touchdowns from Granson and Moore, baby. That's what we need.
Come on, Kylen. Woo! All right, I'll hit enter, and then
how do you not play Dak for that price? Well, the only problem with Dak is then you're playing Lamb, who's super expensive too, and you probably can't play.
You can go Brandon Cooks if you wanted to.
Can't play Lamb and Tyreek on the same team. That's what's tough. I mean, I had Dak and Lamb and Ferguson that first game against the Eagles all across the board, and that was profitable everywhere. And I think they do the same this time, but I just think we got to have Tyreek in there. But I'm not mad. Lamb and CD stack, sign me up too. I mean, I'm not opposed to that one bit.
All right, man. I appreciate you coming on tonight.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, I love you, brother.
Love you too, man. Appreciate everybody joining in, man. This is what's fun, man. Like we talked about in the beginning, like we're wrong, we're right, we're whatever. Things come out of nowhere, and so it's like we all have different takes and we battle it out in a fun way, and so it makes it interesting, man. You no reason to do it if not.
And it's not like I said, it's not a start sit show. It's a precautionary show, right? It's like, all right, we think that with these potential things that could happen, something could happen that affects a player in the top 14 where they fall out, and something that happens to players that are outside the top 14 that fall in, right? It is what it is, That's why the show's so fun. See where our predictions end up next week. So thanks for everyone coming hanging out with us. Make sure you come jump on with us tomorrow. Like I said, I'm going to put the breakout. If if anybody's out there, just spread the word. You know, like we're trying to make these breaks bigger and bigger so we can, you know, get more cool shit to give away. You know, eventually we could start giving stuff away. If we can get breaks rolling more and more, like I could be like, all right, well, we're gonna start opening these boxes and be like, all right, we're gonna give a whole pack of cards away, you know, instead of just a card. So let's get into it. Let's have some fun. Coming out with us tomorrow. Good luck to everybody. You know, like the games start this week for week 14. Hope everyone, you know, if you're right there on the edge of the playoffs trying to make it in, good luck to you. Hope you get in. If you're there like trying to hang on, you know, hopefully you get a win this week and hang on and stay in. If you know, if you're one of there who's already clinched and you're just sitting there, you know, you're going to have a bye week 1. Congrats to you, because that always feels good. You get to sit back and watch people battle out and kind of, you know, think about how you're going to go at it in the following week, and hopefully you make it to the playoffs, you know, or to the championship. So good luck to everyone. Thanks, Ev, and see everyone tomorrow. Peace.